Right? That's how we've been programmed. We've been programmed to believe that self-interest means, who's the best exemplar of self-interest in our modern culture? Bernie Madoff, thank you. Bernie Madoff, right? Now here's a guy who's really self-interested. Just living the good life, right? Is Bernie Madoff self-interested? Was he self-interested? Was he ever self-interested? Yes, you say, because we've been taught that he was. But was he? Think about it a minute. So did Bernie Madoff sit down one day and say to himself, I want that pile of money over there. I know. Well, think of it this way. He sat down one day and said to himself, I want to be the best human being I can be. I want to live life to the fullest. I want to embrace life and have fun and just... Okay, the best way to achieve that is to lie steal from my best friends. I mean, do you really think he sat down and thought through that? And did all the pluses and minuses and said, yeah, lying, stealing, cheating, that'll lead to a happy, successful life. Yes. I mean, it's very unlikely. What Bernie Madoff did is what? He wanted the pile of money, he emoted, felt it, and he took it. He didn't consider his self-interest. He didn't consider the long term. He didn't consider the consequence. How many of you have ever lied? Don't raise your hand. It sucks. It sucks to lie. It's an incredibly self-destructive activity. I mean, it's not good for you. How can you be self-interested and lie? I can't get around this because lying always necessitates more lying, which is just really confusing. And you almost always get caught, which has really bad consequences, right? Particularly if you're in business or in a relationship, right? And you know, at my age, and my guess is to most of you this is true as well, I barely remember what happened last week. What actually happened last week. Now imagine I lied about what happened last week. Now I have to remember two things. Well, actually more than two things. Because I have to remember what I did really, what I lied about, who I lied to, why I lied to them, who I didn't lie to. There's no end to it. It's like, my mind can't deal with that. It's, you know, it's completely debilitating. It's just a stupid strategy. It really is. Reality, truth, makes sense. There's only one of them. You can handle that. It's just so irrational, and you know, it doesn't make any sense. So lying is not a good strategy for self-interest. Cheating is not a good strategy. You know, Bernie Madoff, you know, he's in jail obviously. Not only did he get caught, he went to jail. His sons turned him in. Can you think of anything worse than your own kids turning you in? A year after he was turned in, one of his sons committed suicide. Bernie Madoff is being asked when, you know, how he feels. He says he's happier in jail than he was before he was gone. And I believe that. Because if you think about what it takes to maintain that kind of line, what it takes to look your family and your friends and your business partners in the face and lie to them constantly, it's just debilitating. It's miserable. So it's not self-interest. But they want us to believe it's self-interest so that we choose the stupid morality of sacrifice. The only way we choose sacrifice is if we believe that self-interest is so despicable, it's so ridiculous, that we won't do it. But that's not what self-interest is about. What is self-interest about? What is living life to the fullest? What would that really require? What is every value around you? If you look around the room, where does every single value that you have around you, where does it come from?
Inside of you.
Yeah, but what part of you inside? Where does it come from? Where does, look at the person sitting next to you. You can look. Pretty pathetic. Weak, slow, no fangs, no claws. You go up against a saber-toothed tiger, you're finished. Have you ever tried running down a bison and biting into it? We can't survive in nature that way. We don't have the physical attributes to survive in nature. So what is it? What is it that leads to our ability to survive? Never mind to thrive. What is it that leads to that? Our minds. our reason. You know, somebody had to invent a bow and arrow. Somebody had to invent the first tools. The Einstein of the day figured out that a seed dropping down in the water, you know, that's what leads to plants' growth. And then it took the Bill Gates of the time to figure out, oh, I can take that and plant lots of them and sell them in the marketplace. Agriculture. Right? But that's what it took. It took reason, mind. So all the values we have, electricity, buildings, construction, all this stuff comes from our clothes. Anybody have that gene to make this stuff? I don't. I should buy it. Somebody had to figure out how to do this. I mean, we take it all for granted. Most of us, and then some of you probably go to work and you use your reason there, and then you take everything else for granted. But it's all a product of our mind, all our values. So if you're really self-interested, what should be your #1 value? Your mind. That's why Rand calls our morality rational self-interest. Rational egoism. It's about using reason. This is exactly what Bernie Madoff didn't do. He didn't use his mind. He's not self-interested, and he's no altruist. What is Bernie? You got to give him a word. Oh, he's a criminal, yes. He's self-destructive. He destroyed himself. What a waste of a life. He's a pretty smart guy, I think. What a waste. That's what he is. He's self-destructive. So there's altruism, there's self-interest, and there's self-destructive. But self-interest is not about lying, stealing, cheating. Self-interest is about being rational. It's about pursuing values that are necessary for our life. It's about being rational. It's about being honest. It's about having integrity. It's about being productive, right? Building stuff, making stuff, creating stuff. Now, morality like that, what kind of political system would allow people who hold that kind of morality to thrive? What would they demand in terms of a political system? Freedom. They would demand to be left alone. Somebody who has self-esteem, who produces, who creates, who is rational. Does he want paternalistic mother government sitting on his shoulder telling him, don't touch that sugary drink? No, they want to be left alone to pursue what they think is good for them. You know, we make mistakes, right? Oh, we fail. We fail. Right? Well, we're going to fail at some point. But what do you do with that? What do you do with that? You know, you learn from it. If you're smart, you learn from it. If you're not smart, you don't learn from it. And you deserve to fail. That's okay too. We got to be able to say that. Some people don't learn from their failures. Okay. That's life. Right? So, somebody who holds a morality of self-interest demands capitalism, demands freedom, demands to be left alone. I mean, somebody with self-esteem, who values their own life, who values their values, doesn't want to be bossed around and commanded. I like to hold this image in my mind. Can you imagine George Washington going through the TSA? I mean, he'd slap him. I mean, he'd slap them. So if we want capitalism, because it produces all those wonderful goods, and it does, then what we need to fight is on morality. And again, this is what Obama and the left has always understood. They've dominated from the beginning. From 100 years ago, the progressives have changed the way we use language. They've taken over concepts like justice and fairness. What does fairness mean? Equality. It never used to. It used to mean getting what you deserve. That's what justice used to mean. And today it means equality. How did that happen? They know exactly what they were doing. It's about feelings. It's about emotions, because they're against reason. We need to capture that. If we capture that, capitalism happens. That'll be easy. We need candidates, we need politicians who can make the moral case, the ethical case for capitalism, for freedom, for individual rights. We need to educate people, because at the end of the day we get the politicians we deserve. So it's the culture that needs to be educated. We need to educate our culture about the virtues of self-interest. The virtues of freedom, the virtues of capitalism. We need a presidential candidate who's in the private equity space to be able to defend private equity. Right? Could couldn't say a sentence about private equity that was positive. Because he doesn't have the moral backbone. It's the moral backbone. It's not that he doesn't understand finance, that he doesn't understand economics. It's that he doesn't have the moral backbone to say, yes, we made a profit. And no, our job is not to create jobs. Our job is to make money for our investors. And that's a good thing. But now you got to apologize, which is what they do. We need to recapture the spirit of the founding of this country. It's the spirit of individualism. It's a spirit of self-interest. We need to fight for that Declaration of Independence. I know everybody talks about the Constitution, but to me the Declaration is much more important. And it's the foundation on which we understand the Constitution. What we need is to resurrect the spirit of inalienable rights. Inalienable means what?
Nobody can take them away.
Nobody? What if people vote? What if a majority chooses to take them away? No? Nobody? Not even a majority? No. That would rule out what kind of political system? Pure democracy is out. Right? You can't decide to use my house as a tennis, to level my house and use it as a tennis court. But you can today in America. We've lost the idea of inalienable. There are no inalienable rights in America today, right? But the founders understood that these rights are inalienable. Nobody can take them away. Your right to your own life, to pursue the values that you believe will lead to a better life. The right to liberty. Have whatever thoughts you want to have, ideas that you believe in, and to act on those ideas as you see fit, without anybody telling you what you can and cannot do, and pulling a gun on you and trying to force you to do otherwise. And we have to resurrect the spirit, the belief in the right to pursue each one of our happiness. If we resurrect that, if we invigorate the idea of a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that is when we win. Thank you all.
Q&A session now, and we have people passing out cards to write your question on, and they'll be sorted through in the back to make sure we don't get too many duplicates. So if you could, in the meantime,
Bob Simmons is up there. He will be passing out cards.
Yep.
Bob, when you get through, you turn them into Bob here.
Yeah, give them to Bob and
be able to screen them.
you finished.
Robert, you got nothing.
Okay.
Bob's here.
And while we're handling the logistics of the Q&A, my pleasure to present a certificate of appreciation to our speaker, Yaron Brook, and he put a lot.
Now we waiting?
No, we got questions.
Got questions, go for it.
Okay. What signs would indicate it's time to leave California or the United States?
I was trying to be upbeat and positive here. So I think the signs to leave California are already there. So I don't know. When global warming turns Orange County into a desert, I don't know. We're staying because of the weather, right? I know that's why I'm staying. I think look, to take it seriously, the question is what is the sign that says that hope is lost? That there's no point in fighting anymore, that it's over. I mean, there are two things. One, if you could show me a country that's much better, let's go. But I don't know of any, not in the whole package.
That's my next question.
But when is it time to give up?
Never.
It's when you lose free speech. It's when you lose the ability to have free speech, when you lose the ability to argue, to communicate, to challenge. That's when it's over. I mean, that's our tool, right? Reason. The only way to communicate by reason is through argument, it's through logic, it's through discussion, it's through debate. When your ability to communicate that way is gone, then it's over. And as long as you have free speech, there's a battle to be, there's a war to be waged and there's battles to be won. We still have a shot.
What country or countries have freedom on the rise?
Freedom on the rise. Well, much of Asia has, Asia has freedom on the rise. You could even argue that China has freedom on the rise. We'll see. It could go the other way very easily. But countries like New Zealand has freedom on the rise. Canada's been shrinking government for the last 20 years. People don't talk about this, but Canada had a huge budgetary crisis in '94 and started shrinking government's role as a percent of GDP since then. It's cut some regulation, cut some taxes. They have a horrible healthcare system, but other than that, they're actually on the rise. Sweden, do you believe it? Sweden, people talk about Sweden as socialist heaven. Sweden is an interesting subject because I always used to get in Q&As, well, what about Sweden? How come Sweden's doing so well? So I went and did some research. So until the 1950s, Sweden was one of the freest countries in the world. Incredibly successful industrial country, built up huge quantities of wealth. Some of the richest families in Europe lived in Sweden because of capitalism, because they made stuff and built stuff, right? In the 60s, they decided to redistribute all that wealth. It took them about 35 years to redistribute that, right? And in the mid-90s, late 90s, they got into real financial trouble. And since then, Sweden has been unwinding its socialism. It's been moving away from socialism towards more free markets. So the countries that go, Israel is another one. Israel, when I was growing up in the 70s, was really socialist. And today is a lot less socialist. Still has a long way to go, but has moved in the right direction. Hopefully will continue to do so. So there are countries doing that, but my argument would be that they'll reach a certain point and they'll gravitate backwards. Because again, this is a moral issue, it's not an economic issue. People don't learn from experience, people don't learn from the past, they don't learn from what works. If they don't think it's right, if it doesn't feel right, then they reject it. And they move in the right direction, and then they move in the opposite direction very quickly.
Okay. You've given us some tools and techniques, or things that need to be done. How optimistic are you that they'll turn this around?
Not very. But I don't know an alternative but to fight. So if I look at it objectively, if I really look at the world, and I see how corrupt this world really is, and you go and you meet politicians, and you talk to them, and you meet people, and you talk to them, this is hard. This is challenging thousands of years of conditioning. It's challenging, the condition of the human race has always been towards collectivism, always towards tribalism. This little experiment in freedom is like 200 years. What's 200 years in the scope of history? It's nothing. The probability that we're successful to keep this going is small. But what's the option but to fight? Particularly if you have kids. You got to fight. You got to try to make the world a better place, even if the probability is low. But looking at it objectively, given that the left has the public schools, government schools, I think they call them, government schools, they have the universities, more government schools, they have the whole educational establishment. And you want a cultural, philosophical, moral change is very hard to do without controlling the levers of education, which we don't. It's really, really, really hard, but it's worth the fight because the reward is freedom. Think about the Founding Fathers, right? What did they put on the line in a short battle, right? Their lives, their property, and their sacred honor. The question to all of us is, are we willing to do the same? If we really committed, I think we can win. I just don't know how many there are of us.
Could you tell us a little bit about the basics about Ayn Rand, the organization?
So Ayn Rand, quickly, born in 1905 in Russia. Lisa Rosenblum, so in a middle-class Jewish family, witnessed the beginning of the Russian Revolution in St. Petersburg, lived under communism in the first years of communism, escaped in the late 1920s, basically got out in a very small window where Lenin allowed some people out, knew she would never go back, showed up in the United States with nothing, came to Hollywood, first day in Hollywood, she went to the Cecil B. DeMille studio to try to get a job, and they said, don't call us, we'll call you. And as she's walking out, there's a big convertible at the edge of the driveway, and drives by and there's Cecil B. DeMille. I mean, you couldn't write this in a movie script, but it's true. And she stares at him, and he stops. And he says, "What are you staring at me?" And she says, "You know, I just arrived from Russia. I love your movies," and so on. And he says, "Get in the car." And he takes her to the back lot where he's filming The King of Kings, right? The story of Jesus Christ. And he says, "If you want to be in the movie," she says, "I want to be in the movie business. I want to write scripts." He says, "You got to know how to make movies. So here's a pass for a week." And she lands up being an extra on The King of Kings. She meets a husband on the set. She works her way up through wardrobe departments, through all kinds of odds and ends jobs in Hollywood. Learns English on the side, practices writing, lands up writing a play that's fairly successful, a couple of novels that don't really go anywhere, and then she writes Fountainhead, which is rejected by 12 publishers. Nobody wants to touch it. Finally, somebody publishes it, but very few copies. The copies sell immediately. It just becomes a word-of-mouth bestseller. Still is. I mean, sells hundreds, sells over 100,000 copies a year to this day. And is a huge, huge success. So when she puts up Atlas Shrugged in 1957, the publishers are going to her, and she gets to choose which publisher to use. Atlas becomes an instant bestseller, but is rejected. The Fountainhead got good reviews from a lot of newspapers. Atlas Shrugged got 0 good reviews. And the worst review written of Atlas Shrugged, anybody know what the worst review? It was in the National Review by Whittaker Chambers, who was a former commie, who was assigned to write the review by William F. Buckley, who decided that he did not want Ayn Rand part of the conservative movement. He wanted her out because she was an atheist and she was a purist when it came to economic freedom, and he did not want that. So he succeeded. She kicked out of the conservative movement. She spent the rest of her life speaking, writing nonfiction. She wrote a series of nonfiction books, Capitalism Not Known to Ideal, The Virtue of Selfishness, epistemology book, lots of books of essays, a book on art, on aesthetics. So a lot of work, a lot of lectures, a lot of stuff. She died in 1982. The Institute was founded in 85, really to promote her ideas and to bring the ideas into the culture and to have an impact. We do a lot of work with high schools and colleges to get her books read and to get people to teach her. We run the largest high school essay contest in the country. And then we act as a think tank, getting her ideas into the policy debates, particularly in Washington and all over the country. We're based in Orange County, California, and we have offices in DC. That's the quick, short version.
Your message is one that young people need to hear. We see that some people think we've lost an entire generation or two, and based on the college educational system we have, how do you turn that around?
Well, I mean, I don't think we've lost them. I think they need to hear the argument. And the only way we're going to recapture them is to talk to them. And the only way to do that is to write, it's to speak, it's to get them, it's to tweet and to Facebook and, to do the things that they're engaged with, it's to do videos. It's to engage them with ideas. They're not, one of the great things that evolution did, which helps our cause, is it creates this period in young people's lives called the teens, where young people reject authority. They reject what their teachers are teaching them. They reject what their parents are telling them, right? They want to think for themselves. They're open to new ideas. And, imagine if we were really the bromides that people pretend, we're just products of our genes and our environment. And we just suck in everything our teachers say and we go out little robots doing what, we don't. We actually rebel against it. That's when you got to hit them. You got to hit people between the ages of 16 and 24, 26, whatever. And you got to get in front of them. You got to find ways. We, for example, believe that an incredible tool is Ayn Rand, Ayn Rand's novels. It's a novel. It's a story. I mean, one of the things we are pathetic at on the right is telling stories. The left is very good at telling stories. Ayn Rand was very good at telling stories. People remember stories. They don't remember abstract ideas. They remember stories. So get kids to read Ayn Rand. Now, we offer any English teacher in the United States free copies of any of Ayn Rand's novels if they promise to teach them. We thought, we'll set a few thousand out. We ship 400,000 copies a year. 400,000. So when you get millions of kids reading these books are going to challenge the authority. They're going to challenge people's thinking. They're going to get people thinking about individualism, about the individual versus the collective. You know, if they read Atlas Shrugged, about the whole philosophy. But every one of the books deals with these issues, and you get them. So you got to do that. You got to do that on larger and larger scales. You got to do it in colleges. You know, I like to tell business groups, if you want it, one thing you could do to save the world is stop giving money to your alma mater. Unless you're giving it to a program that actually is teaching values. It's actually, you know, engineering or science or something really. We'll find professors who are teaching good stuff and support them, but don't write them a blank check to the social sciences department where they teach the anti-capitalist, anti-freedom, anti-everything you believe in. You're just helping your destroyers that way. So think about how you give your money, you know, and advocate for the right ideas and talk about morality. Again, if you give the left a moral high ground, they win every single time. Don't let them. Challenge them on moral, ethical terms. We won the economic argument a long time ago. We won it a long time ago. And we've got the Nobel Prizes. I mean, the economists who won it have the Nobel Prizes. You know, they were recognized. It's not that there was some obscure economist that nobody heard of him. The economics are out there. It's the morality that nobody knows about. It's the morality that we don't challenge, and it's the morality that teenagers in particular are open to, because they're looking, they want to find something, they're searching for truth.
Okay. This is from a young adult. He says, is the concept of equality of opportunity compatible with the full expression of freedom?
How many of you have equality of opportunity? Had equality of opportunity when you were growing up? Yeah, really? You had the same opportunities as Bill Gates' kids? No, there's no such thing as equality of opportunity. Not in the sense that people talk about it today. This is a cop-out that conservatives, you know, when the Founding Fathers say we're all born equal, created equal, what do they mean? Equal, what kind of equality do they mean?
Before the law.
Equality before the law. We are all equal in rights. We all have the same rights. You're presented in front of a judge. If you're an aristocrat or you're a pauper, you get the same treatment. You're treated by the law, by government, the same way. Other than that kind of equality, there is no other. There is no other. Some of us are good-looking, some of us are ugly, some of us are short, some of us are tall, some of us are good families, some of us are bad families. And you can't equate that. I mean, I like to, you know, my best example about equality, I think equality, the idea of equality of outcome, and I think opportunity is very similar. Equality of outcome is the most evil idea in human history. How do you make me equal to Michael Jordan in basketball? No, there's a way to do it. How do you make me equal to Michael Jordan in basketball? You break his legs. Not good enough. He'd still beat me. He'd have to break his legs and his arms. But that's what every equality scheme demands. It means taking people with talent, or with wealth, or with whatever, and breaking their arms. Taking your money away is no different than breaking your arms. It's yours. It's not theirs. So, equality demands coercion and force and breaking and you know, and it's wrong. The best example, this is what you have to hold in your minds of equality. The only regime in history that I know of that took this seriously, I mean really seriously, intellectually and practically, was the Khmer Rouge. Anybody know where they were educated? Pol Pot and his pals? At the Sorbonne in France. They went in classes with Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre and all the good existentialists. And they were taught egalitarianism. They were taught equality of outcome. And they went back and they saw Cambodia, and some people were living in cities and some people were living in the countryside. They said, that's not equal. So they emptied the cities. They forced everybody to leave the cities.